After my divorce, I washed away the ugly makeup I had worn for years. Then I posted a bare-faced selfie online. I jokingly asked one simple question. Anyone want to take me on a date? I expected a few laughs, maybe a handful of comments. Instead, the internet exploded. Within hours, my photo was trending #1. Thousands of strangers flooded my comments. Is this woman even real? Not even AI could create a face like this. I'm 6 feet 2 inches, a college athlete, and I'm not a creep. I genuinely want to give this goddess a home. A-list actors notice me. Wealthy heirs sent messages. Wall Street executives suddenly wanted to meet me. And then the news reached my ex-husband, Commander Connor Sterling. One of his fellow officers reportedly looked at him and joked, "Commander, if I'd known your ex-wife was this beautiful, you should have introduced her to one of us." Connor's reaction? He crushed the whiskey glass in his hand. Then he drove straight back to the house we once shared. But I wasn't there. There wasn't a single trace of me. Because 3 years earlier, I had made a decision. A decision that would eventually destroy our marriage. And strangely enough, it all started with my face. For years, I had deliberately made myself look unattractive. Thick black-rimmed glasses. Dark, dull foundation. Loose, faded clothes. Nothing flattering. Nothing that would draw attention. I did it because of something my mother told me on her deathbed. She held my hand and whispered, "For a girl without power, having only beauty is a disaster." My mother had learned that lesson the hardest possible way. She had been an extraordinarily talented dancer. But after marrying beneath her station, she suffered years of emotional abuse. Her beauty had never protected her. So before she died, she begged me to hide mine. And I listened. For more than a decade, I made myself look ordinary. Sometimes even deliberately ugly. My father arranged countless blind dates for me. Every man rejected me. Some barely hid their disgust. Others made excuses and left immediately. Then I met Connor Sterling. Unlike the others, Connor never showed the slightest sign of being bothered by my appearance. He ignored the mocking looks from everyone around us. He treated me gently. He stood up for me. And eventually, he proposed. Everyone said I had somehow won the lottery. She married completely out of her league. With that face, marrying into the Sterling family is unbelievable. She must be incredibly lucky. I believed them. More importantly, I believed him. I thought Connor had seen something in me that nobody else could see. I thought he loved my personality, my kindness, my loyalty, my soul. I couldn't have been more wrong. 3 years into our marriage, we were participating in a joint tactical exercise near the border. Everything changed in seconds. An armored vehicle suddenly went out of control and came barreling toward me. Connor saw it first. He shoved me out of the way. The explosion hit him instead. He was critically injured. He collapsed into a coma. I stumbled through the chaos and made my way to the base hospital. I thought my husband had almost died protecting me. I thought that had to mean something. But when I reached his hospital room, I stopped. There was someone inside. His mother, Mrs. Sterling. And she was furious. "Connor, you brought home a hideous wife and made our entire family the laughingstock of the base. And now you risked your life to protect her? How long are you going to keep this rebellion going?" I froze outside the door. Then I heard Connor's voice. Calm, steady, almost emotionless. "Mom, you know exactly what I want. I know this is all for Serena." My blood went cold. Serena? Who was Serena? I immediately contacted a friend who worked in military intelligence. "I need a background check." Connor Sterling and Serena Vance. The file arrived quickly, and when I read it, my entire marriage collapsed before my eyes. Serena Vance, lead dancer for the military's public relations performance troupe. Connor's first love, his childhood sweetheart, the woman everyone considered his perfect match. 3 years earlier, Connor and Serena had been preparing to marry. But Serena's father was investigated for serious financial fraud. The Sterling family panicked. They didn't want their prestigious name connected to the scandal. They opposed the marriage. Connor fought them. So his family pulled strings and had Serena transferred to a remote military base. The relationship ended. Or, at least, that's what everyone thought. Afterward, Connor went on a series of blind dates. He rejected every woman. Until he met me, the deliberately ugly girl at a military social event. Suddenly, everything made sense. Connor hadn't married me because he loved me. He married me because I was the perfect weapon. A harmless-looking wife who would irritate his family while allowing him to continue his rebellion. He wasn't choosing me. He was choosing a way to punish them. I stared at the intelligence report. Then I laughed. A broken, bitter laugh. My mother had spent her entire life terrified that my beauty would cause a man to deceive me. But somehow, even as an ugly woman, I'd still been deceived. And the deception was even worse. For 3 years, Connor had tied my shoelaces, stood beside me in freezing weather, remembered every little thing I casually mentioned. I thought those were signs of love. Now I realized they had all been part of the performance. He had been playing the devoted husband, and I had been the only person who didn't know it was a play. I wiped my tears, then called Mrs. Sterling. I want a divorce from Connor. Silence. Then her voice became cold. What? Avery, with that ghastly face of yours. Who else would ever want you? My hand tightened around the phone. My appearance is none of your concern. This divorce is happening. If your family refuses, I'll file a formal complaint with JAG and the base commander. That finally got her attention. There was a long silence. Then, fine. I'll handle the paperwork. I hung up. I discharged myself from the hospital, then went straight back to the officer's estate and began packing. The commendation medals Connor had given me, the expensive tactical watch, the simple silver wedding ring he'd placed on my finger 3 years earlier. Everything went into the trash. I wasn't just throwing away objects. I was throwing away 3 years of lies. A few days later, Connor was discharged from the hospital. He came home acting as though nothing had changed. His voice was still rough from his injuries, but his tone was gentle. Tonight is your birthday. I booked a table at the officers' club. It's still early. Let me take you to pick out a formal dress. I looked at him and wondered how many lies a person could tell while maintaining such a calm expression. All right. We drove downtown to a luxury boutique. As soon as we entered, Connor's phone rang. Look around first. I have to take this. He walked away. I wandered toward the clothing racks. Then I saw it. A beautiful light khaki dress. Minimalist. Elegant. Perfectly cut. I touched the fabric. Could you get this one for me? Before the sales associate could answer, a bright female voice came from behind me. I'll take that one. I turned, and there she was. Serena Vance. The woman from the intelligence report. She was even more beautiful in person. Elegant posture. Perfectly composed. Radiant without even trying. She looked at the dress. Then at me. Her eyes paused briefly on my thick glasses and oversized cargo pants. She smiled. I actually had my eye on this one. Even though you were here first. She tilted her head. I just think it suits my style better. Would you mind letting me have it? I looked at the sales associate. I mind. Please wrap it up. Serena reached for the hanger. Clothes are about who wears them. You usually wear tactical gear. Buying something like this would be a waste. Why not just let me have it? We both held the dress. Neither of us let go. Then a familiar voice came from behind us. What's going on? Connor. He had finished his phone call. Serena's face immediately brightened. Connor. She turned toward him. What a coincidence. Then she looked at me. Oh, so this is your wife. She released the hanger, but before I could even react, Connor took the dress from my hands and handed it to Serena. You don't need to yield. His voice was noticeably softer. It should fit you perfectly. Go try it on. Serena smiled, then disappeared into the fitting room. Connor finally looked at me. Avery, that's Serena. She's an old comrade from the PR division. She's blunt, but she doesn't mean any harm. It's just a piece of clothing. There's no need to fight over it. We'll pick something else. I swallowed the lump in my throat, then reached for another dress. A simple dark blue one. This is fine. Moments later, Serena stepped out of the fitting room. The khaki dress fit her perfectly. The sales associate gasped. "Miss Vance, you look absolutely stunning." Connor stared at her. Serena smiled. "Connor, how does it look?" "It looks great." Then she casually adjusted his shirt cuff, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She looked at me. "By the way, I heard tonight is Mrs. Sterling's birthday." Asterisk, it is, Connor replied. "I happen to have the night off from performances." She smiled sweetly. "If Mrs. Sterling doesn't mind, I'd love to celebrate with you." I hadn't said a word. Connor answered for me. "We don't mind. Come along." That evening, the officers' club was packed. Connor had arranged a huge birthday dinner. Senior officers, military families, important guests. Everyone was there. I stood beside my husband in a simple dark blue dress. Then Connor presented me with a velvet box. Inside was an honorary military insignia pin. Everyone around us admired it. "Thank you." My voice was completely flat. Then Serena arrived. And instantly, the entire room changed. She looked stunning in the khaki dress Connor had chosen for her. "Sorry, rehearsal ran late." She smiled. "I didn't bring a gift for Mrs. Sterling, so I'll play a song for her instead." Then she looked at Connor. "It's been a while since we've played together." "Duet." Connor looked at me. For one brief moment, I thought he might refuse. Instead, he stood and walked to the piano. They sat beside each other. Connor in his military uniform, Serena beside him, her fingers moving effortlessly across the keys. The music filled the room. Beautiful, perfect, almost romantic. And the whispers began. "Now that's a woman worthy of the commander." If only the Vance family hadn't fallen. The current wife is way too ugly. Look at them together. It's painful. Every word felt like a needle entering my chest. I couldn't take it anymore. I quietly walked onto the balcony. A moment later, footsteps approached. Connor, his arms gently wrapped around my shoulders. "Why did you come out here?" "Don't listen to what they're saying." I didn't answer. Then suddenly, the balcony doors opened. Serena stood there. Her face was pale. Tears shimmered in her eyes. "Sorry to interrupt." Her voice trembled. Then she turned and ran. Connor immediately released me. "I'll go check on her." And he followed. Just like that. On my birthday, my husband chose another woman. Again. I didn't wait. I left the building. I had barely reached the driveway when someone stepped in front of me. "Mrs. Sterling." "Leaving so early?" I tried to walk around her. She blocked me. "There are some things you need to know. Like the real reason Connor married you." I stopped. "Move." She grabbed my wrist. "He doesn't even." We struggled. Then Serena suddenly appeared. Her foot slipped. She fell backward and dragged me down with her. For one terrible second, everything happened at once. A scream, the screech of tires, a violent impact. Agonizing pain exploded across my forehead and cheek. Warm blood blurred my vision. And just before I lost consciousness, I saw Connor running toward us. His normally calm face was filled with something I'd never seen before. Panic. Then everything went dark. I heard voices from somewhere far away. "Commander, both victims require immediate surgery. But the medevac pod only has room for one. Your wife has a severe facial laceration. If we don't treat it immediately, she'll have permanent scarring. Miss Vance has suffered trauma to her hand. Delaying treatment could affect her ability to play the piano." My heart stopped. Then I heard Connor. Calm. Decisive. The same voice I had trusted for 3 years. "Save Serena first. Her hands cannot be ruined." Someone hesitated. "But your wife?" Connor answered. "Her looks don't matter to her." Those words destroyed the last piece of hope inside me. Her looks don't matter. That was what my husband thought. My face didn't matter. My pain didn't matter. I didn't matter. I sank into darkness. When I woke up, I was in the base hospital. My face was bandaged. My body was weak. The door opened, Serena walked in. Several dancers followed behind her. She looked at me and smiled. Avery, I heard your face took quite a hit. I thought you were definitely going to be disfigured this time. She smiled. The Sterling family brought in some excellent military surgeons. I can't believe they managed to salvage it. Then she paused. Well, they saved it, but it's still the same old ugly face. The women behind her laughed. I closed my eyes. Get out. One of the dancers immediately snapped. What's with the attitude? Serena came to check on you out of kindness. I opened my eyes, looked directly at Serena, and said, take your dogs and get the hell out of my room. The dancer raised her hand. Who are you calling a dog? She was about to slap me when a tall man stepped forward. Brianna, don't hit a patient. He looked at me, then smirked. Mrs. Sterling has quite the temper. I specialize in fixing bad attitudes. He stepped closer. His gaze made my skin crawl. I've seen plenty of women like you. Ugly, but full of venom. You just need a real man to put you in your place. Then he reached for my hospital gown. I struggled. Get away from me. He pinned my shoulder down. His other hand grabbed the collar of my gown. The face is trash, but the body isn't half bad. I screamed. Let go. Help. The people around him laughed. Serena's friend even pulled out her phone to record. Desperation took over. My hand reached for the heavy military canteen sitting beside my bed. I grabbed it and swung. Bang! The metal canteen slammed into the man's head. He screamed. At that exact moment, a nurse entered carrying medication. She froze, then screamed. Military police. Call the MPs. At the military police station, everyone was separated for questioning. Serena and her group gave the same story. They claimed I had attacked the man without reason. I insisted it was self-defense. But nobody seemed willing to believe me. Because, in their eyes, why would a man want to assault a woman they considered unattractive? Then Connor arrived. He was accompanied by a JAG officer. The MP chief briefed him. Commander, the statements conflict. According to protocol, we need to determine a resolution. Connor was silent. The interrogation room felt suffocating. Finally, he spoke. Derek's actions were extreme. For 1 second, I thought he was going to defend me. Then he continued. But an accusation of attempted sexual assault. He looked at me. Avery, Derek has a fiancé. He has no reason to target you. My heart sank. Connor turned to the MP chief. Derek's injuries are severe. Send him to the hospital for a forensic evaluation. Then he looked at me. Avery is emotionally unstable and needs time to calm down. Since a formal report was filed, process this as disturbing the peace. Put her in the holding cell for a few days. She needs time to reflect. I stared at him. The man I had loved. The man I thought would protect me from everyone. He had just chosen them. Again. The MP chief understood immediately. Yes, sir. Then he turned toward me. Avery, on the grounds of suspected battery and disturbing the peace, you are hereby placed in the brig. I was dragged away, and the next 7 days were absolute hell. A freezing cell, moldy bread, people intentionally provoking me, being splashed awake with freezing water, my wounds being roughly handled. No comfort, no protection, no Connor, nothing. And while I suffered in that cell, my husband continued living his life. Or so I thought, because when those 7 days were finally over, I received a phone call. It was Mrs. Sterling. Her voice was cold. Avery, the divorce has been approved by military command. From this day forward, you have absolutely nothing to do with Connor or the Sterling family. Your father will receive a severance package. Do not contact us ever again. I hung up. Then I hailed a cab and returned to the officer's estate. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't say goodbye. I simply walked upstairs and did 3 things. First, I packed everything that belonged to me. Second, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and washed my face. I scrubbed away every trace of the dark foundation, every layer of the disguise. Steam filled the bathroom. I wiped the mirror clean. And for the first time in years, I looked at my real face. The face I had hidden from the world. The face my mother had taught me to fear. I stared at my reflection, then whispered, "No more hiding." Third, I took out my phone and booked the earliest commercial flight out of the city. I packed my bags, left the house, and headed to the airport. I had no idea that the moment I stepped into that airport, my entire life was about to change. Because, while I was waiting for my flight, someone secretly took a photo of me. No glasses, no dark makeup, no disguise, just me. And within hours, that photo would spread across the internet like wildfire. Hashtag airport goddess. Hashtag is this face even real? Hashtag find her in 5 minutes. And one hashtag would cause the entire military base to explode. Hashtag is this Commander Sterling's ex-wife? Because for the first time, the world was about to see the woman Connor Sterling had spent 3 years failing to see. And when Connor finally saw that photograph, he realized he had made the biggest mistake of his life. But by then, it was already too late. The plane had already disappeared into the clouds when the first photograph appeared online. A stranger had secretly photographed me at the airport. No glasses, no dark foundation, no oversized clothes hiding my figure, no attempt to make myself invisible, just me. And within hours, the internet went completely insane. Hashtag airport goddess in cargo pants. Hashtag is this face even real? Hashtag find her in 5 minutes. Hashtag even Serena Vance can't compare. The photographs spread across social media at terrifying speed. People were trying to figure out who I was. Some claimed I was an actress. Others insisted I was a model. One person even suggested the photographs had been generated by artificial intelligence.
But then someone recognized me.
And the question that appeared on military forums sent shockwaves through the entire base. Is this Commander Sterling's hideous ex-wife, Avery? Within minutes, the answer was everywhere. It was me, the woman everyone had mocked for 3 years. The woman Connor had supposedly married because her appearance didn't matter. The woman who had walked around the military base in thick glasses and dark makeup was apparently breathtaking. And then the media dug deeper. They discovered my mother's identity. She had once been one of the most brilliant lead dancers in the military's performance division. A legendary ballerina. A woman whose beauty and talent had once captivated audiences across the country. And I wasn't simply her daughter. I had inherited her talent. My mother had taught me ballet from childhood. Before she died, she had trained me personally. But after her marriage fell apart, she became terrified of the world. She believed beauty brought danger. So I hid. I buried my talent. And I built an ordinary life around a secret identity. Until now. Suddenly, the internet wasn't just talking about my face. They were asking another question. What had happened to Commander Sterling's mysterious wife? Meanwhile, Connor was at home. He had just returned from the military base when one of his officers walked into the room carrying a tablet. "Commander, you need to see this." Connor barely looked up. "What is it?" "It's all over the military forums." The officer hesitated. "It's about your ex-wife." Connor's expression changed. "Avery?" The officer nodded. "Yes." He handed over the tablet. Connor looked at the photograph and froze. For several seconds, he couldn't breathe. The woman on the screen had Avery's eyes, Avery's expression, Avery's unmistakable features. But everything else was different. She looked radiant, confident,
Free. Connor zoomed in.
His hands began to shake. Then he whispered, "That's impossible." The officer didn't answer. Connor stared at the photograph again and suddenly remembered something. 3 years earlier, when they first met, Avery had always avoided cameras. She hated having her photograph taken. She never removed her glasses in public. She always wore loose clothing. Whenever he asked why, she gave him the same answer. "I just don't like attention." Connor had believed her. Now he realized he had never actually known the woman he married. Then his phone started ringing. His mother. "Connor, have you seen the military forum?" Her voice was frantic. "That girl deceived us all." Her mother was a disgraced dancer, and now the entire internet is laughing at the Sterling family. Connor's expression hardened. "What did you say?" His mother continued. "At least she's finally gone. Now you can marry Serena without any obstacles." Connor hung up. He didn't respond. He simply walked upstairs. He opened the door to the master bedroom.
And stopped.
The room was empty. Avery's belongings were gone. Her clothes, her notebooks, her little keepsakes, everything. Even the vanity was empty, except for one thing. A bottle of the dark foundation she had used every day. Connor picked it up. Then he saw something else. Her black-rimmed glasses. Broken. Discarded in the sink. He slowly walked toward the trash can. Inside were the things he had given her over 3 years. His commendation medals. The tactical watch he'd bought for their anniversary. And the simple silver wedding ring he had placed on her finger. Connor stared at the ring, then sank onto the edge of the bed. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to lose someone. Not because they had died, but because they had finally realized they deserved better. He remembered his own words. Her looks don't matter to her. They echoed through his mind. Again and again. He had chosen Serena's hands over Avery's bleeding face. He had thrown Avery into a cold holding cell. He had allowed his mother to humiliate her. He had convinced himself he was protecting the woman he loved. But the truth was much uglier. He hadn't been protecting anyone. He had been using Avery. And she had finally seen through him. 2 weeks later, the internet still hadn't moved on. The story had become bigger than anyone expected. Avery's real identity had been uncovered. And another revelation shocked the public. I was the daughter of the legendary prima ballerina Elena Vance. Not related to Serena Vance. Not part of Serena's disgraced family. A completely different Vance family. And apparently, I had inherited my mother's extraordinary talent. In Capitol Harbor, the prestigious National Ballet Theater announced something even more surprising. Their newest guest artistic director and principal choreographer was Avery Chun. The woman who had disappeared from the military world had returned to the world she had abandoned.
Ballet. Art.
The stage. And this time, I wasn't hiding. Back at the military base, Connor was falling apart. He worked longer hours, pushed his battalion harder, stopped sleeping. His eyes became sunken. His normally controlled demeanor became frighteningly volatile. And Serena noticed. She tried everything. She brought him homemade meals. She visited his quarters. She even wore the light khaki dress he had bought her. But Connor wouldn't open the door. Finally, she cornered him outside the tactical briefing room. "Connor." Her eyes filled with tears. "Why are you doing this to me? You saved my hands. You chose me over her. We can finally be together. My family's charges were cleared. Your mother accepts me now." Connor stopped walking, then slowly turned around. He looked at Serena's hand resting on his sleeve. The very hand he had once prioritized over his wife's bleeding face. His expression was completely empty. "Don't touch me." Serena immediately pulled her hand away. "Connor, she lied to you for 3 years." Connor stared at her. "She hid her face. She made you look like a fool." Connor's voice became colder. "She didn't lie to me." Serena froze. Connor stepped closer. "She hid herself from a world full of monsters. And I proved to be the biggest monster of all." Serena's face went pale. "Connor, if you ever come near my command again, Vance, I'll have you court-martialed for interfering with military operations." He stepped past her. "Get out of my sight." Serena stood there trembling. Connor didn't look back. That evening, he submitted a formal request for leave. The first leave request in his entire 10-year military career. He packed one duffel bag, bought a ticket, and left the base. His destination? Capitol Harbor. Capitol Harbor was alive with summer rain. Inside the grand auditorium of the National Performing Arts Center, hundreds of journalists and photographers had gathered. The occasion was the upcoming production of Unveiled Swan. Connor sat in the very back row, a dark cap pulled low over his eyes. He didn't want anyone to recognize him. Then the stage lights brightened. and I walked onto the stage. The entire room went silent. I wore an elegant emerald green silk gown. My black hair was swept into a sleek updo. My face was completely bare. No dark foundation. No thick glasses. No disguise. The small scar near my temple from the accident hadn't ruined my beauty. If anything, it made me look stronger, more dangerous, more real. I sat at the center table beside international art directors and cultural officials. Then the questions began. Miss Chun. A reporter raised his microphone. The viral photographs revealed your past marriage to Commander Connor Sterling. Is it true that you hid your face because he mistreated you? I adjusted the microphone. My expression remained calm. My past marriage was a mistake born from my own naive choices. The room became silent. I once believed that true character could be found beneath armor. I was wrong. Another reporter immediately asked, "Are you bitter about the Sterling family discarding you?" I gave a quiet laugh. Discarding me? I tilted my head. You cannot discard something you never truly possessed. The room erupted in whispers. I continued. Commander Sterling married an illusion he created to fight his own family battles. I simply reclaimed my reality. Then I looked directly into the cameras. The Sterling family is irrelevant to my life now. At the back of the room, Connor felt as though someone had driven a blade into his chest. Irrelevant. That was what I thought of him now. Not hatred, not revenge, not even anger, just irrelevance. And somehow, that hurt him more than hatred ever could. After the press conference, a private gala was held in a glass-walled ballroom overlooking the harbor. Wealthy heirs, foreign diplomats, famous artists. Everyone wanted a moment of my attention. But one man stood out. Julian Rhee, a billionaire media executive and longtime patron of the arts. He stood beside me, quietly making me laugh. And Connor watched from the shadows. He saw me smile. Not the polite smile I'd given him during our marriage. A real smile.
Warm, bright, alive.
A smile that reached my eyes. Connor realized something painful. In 3 years of marriage, he had never seen me smile like that. He had given me routine, cold duty, silence,
And shame.
Julian gave me something Connor never had. Space to be myself. Eventually, I excused myself and walked onto the outdoor terrace. The rain had stopped. The harbor lights reflected across the dark water. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. Connor. He stood there looking exhausted. Avery. I didn't react. Commander Sterling. I deliberately used his military title. You are out of your jurisdiction. He took a step toward me. Avery, please. Just 5 minutes. We have nothing to talk about. The divorce is finalized. Connor's expression collapsed. I didn't know. He stepped closer. I didn't know my mother forced the papers on you. I didn't know what they were doing to you in the holding cell. I looked at him calmly. You didn't know because you didn't care to ask. He lowered his head. I continued. You made your decision at the accident scene. Save Serena first. Her hands cannot be ruined. Avery's looks don't matter to her. Connor closed his eyes. A tear ran down his cheek. I was an idiot. I thought you were strong. I thought Serena was fragile. I was trying to protect a ghost from my past. And in doing so, I destroyed the only real thing in my life. Then something completely unexpected happened. Connor dropped to one knee, right there on the wet terrace. A high-ranking military commander, begging. Avery, come back to me. Give me one chance to make things right. I'll resign my commission. I'll leave the Sterling family. I'll spend the rest of my life making up for those 3 years. I looked down at him. Once, this man had been my entire world. I had believed he was my knight in shining armor. I had willingly hidden my beauty just to protect his world.
But now?
I finally understood how pathetic that had been. Get up, Connor. He looked up. Hope appeared in his eyes. Avery. You don't love me, Connor. His face froze. You don't even know me. You loved the quiet, compliant, ugly girl who asked for nothing. And now you love the tragic, beautiful woman the whole world wants because your pride can't handle losing her. That's not true. He stood desperately. I loved you. I remembered your birthday. I took care of you. I looked directly into his eyes. You took care of a pet. He went silent. You gave me an honorary pin while you gave your first love a stage. You put me in a holding cell while you sent her harasser to a comfortable hospital bed. You let your mother treat me like garbage for 3 years because it served your narrative of being the beautiful son suffering for love. Connor's eyes filled with tears. I took a breath. My mother hid her face her entire life because she let a man convince her that her worth was tied to his approval. I hid my face because I was afraid of the world. Then I stepped closer. But you taught me something valuable, Commander. Connor whispered. What? Being ugly didn't shield me from cruelty. Being quiet didn't earn me respect. So, I decided to stop hiding. I touched his military uniform lightly over his heart. I am Avery Chen. I don't need your protection. I don't need your redemption. And I certainly don't need your love. Before Connor could answer, another voice interrupted. Avery. Julian stepped onto the terrace carrying 2 warm coats. He calmly approached us, then gently placed one around my shoulders. The night breeze is getting cold. Connor stared at him. Julian looked at Connor. Is this gentleman bothering you? I smiled. A genuine smile. The kind Connor had never been able to bring out of me.
No.
I turned my back on Connor. He was just leaving. And that was the moment Connor finally understood. He hadn't lost me to another man. He had lost me to myself. 6 months later, the Sterling family name had fallen into disgrace. Military Internal Affairs launched a sweeping investigation into the family's political influence. Mrs. Sterling's history of corruption involving military base allocations was exposed. She was publicly removed from high society. Serena's downfall was even worse. Multiple former dancers came forward with allegations of harassment and abuse of power. The accusations were investigated. The evidence was verified. Serena was permanently dismissed from the military PR performance troupe. Without the Sterling family's protection, her career was finished. And Connor? He resigned his position as commander. He refused his family's trust fund. He walked away from the Sterling name. He bought a small, isolated house near the northern coast. There was almost nothing inside. Just a bed, a table, a few books, and one photograph. The airport photograph of me. The picture that had started everything. Connor kept it framed on his desk. Every morning he looked at it. Avery, radiant,
Free.
completely unburdened. And every time he looked at that photograph, he remembered the woman he had once held in his arms. The woman he thought needed him. The woman he never bothered to truly see. Meanwhile, in Capitol Harbor, the curtain rose. Unveiled Swan premiered to unprecedented global acclaim. The theater was completely packed. Critics called it brilliant. Audiences called it breathtaking. And when the final performance ended, the grand theater erupted. The applause continued. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15. Flowers flooded the stage. And I walked into the center of the spotlight. No dark foundation. No black glasses. No disguise. Just me. I bowed deeply, then looked out at the thousands of faces applauding. For the first time in my life, I wasn't hiding. I wasn't wearing a mask for protection. I wasn't changing myself to make someone else comfortable. I didn't need a man's approval. I didn't need a family's acceptance. I didn't need anyone to tell me that I was worthy. Because I finally understood something my mother had spent her entire life trying to teach me. True beauty was never about the face the world saw. It was about the strength to tear down the walls built by fear. It was about having the courage to step out of the shadows cast by people who only loved an illusion. And as I stood beneath those brilliant stage lights, I smiled. Then I turned toward the future. Far away, beside the cold northern sea, Connor sat alone. A silver wedding band rested in his calloused hand. The waves crashed against the rocks outside his window. He looked at the photograph on his desk one last time. He knew he would spend the rest of his life remembering the woman he had once had and lost. Not because she wasn't beautiful enough. Not because she wasn't good enough. But because he had been too blind to see her. He had spent 3 years loving an illusion, and by the time he finally saw the real woman,
She no longer needed him.
back in Capitol Harbor, the stage lights shone brighter. I took one final look at the audience, then turned my back on the past, and walked toward my future. Because sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't making someone regret losing you. It's becoming so completely yourself that their regret no longer matters. And that was the moment my real life finally began.